Every January, while hourly workers are clocking overtime just to stay afloat, about half the country makes a resolution to get their finances together. And every January, the most recommended name in personal finance is the same guy, Dave Ramsey. Over 20 million listeners a week across 600 radio stations. A $300 million a year company, Ramsey Solutions, built on telling other people how to handle their money. A lot of what he says makes sense. Pay off your debt. Stop buying stuff you can't afford. Live on less than you make. Hard to argue with that. But there's a difference between advice that sounds right and advice that works when you're clocking in at 6 in the morning or doing 6 weeks of swing shift. I know because I'm currently working in a warehouse making around $65,000 a year with overtime. I'm not reviewing this from a distance. I'm in it. I'm not a financial advisor, tax professional, or licensed counselor. Nothing in this video is professional advice. It's information and personal perspective. Always consult a qualified professional for your specific situation. Dave grew up in Tennessee. Both parents were in real estate. Got his real estate license at 18, sold full-time while studying finance at the University of Tennessee. By 26, he had a net worth of about $1 million, was earning roughly $250,000 a year, and had a real estate portfolio worth around $4 million. Then one of his smaller banks got bought out by a bigger one. The new bank called in about $1.2 million in short-term debt. He couldn't cover it. The whole thing collapsed. Filed for bankruptcy in 1988 before FDIC oversight tightened the screws on that kind of short-term lending exposure. He spent the next few years rebuilding, studying the Bible for financial principles. And in 1992, he self-published his first book, Financial Peace, and started a free radio show in Nashville called The Money Game. He'd later write The Total Money Makeover, which became one of the best-selling personal finance books of all time and the backbone of everything Ramsey Solutions sells today. He went broke on a $4 million real estate portfolio while earning $250,000 a year. He didn't go broke buying too many energy drinks at the gas station. He went broke making high-level moves with high-level money. His rock bottom was most people's ceiling. The system he built after that, the 7 baby steps, they work for a certain kind of person in a certain kind of situation. Over 5 million people have gone through Financial Peace University. His curriculum is in more than 10,000 schools. But the system was designed by someone who had already been a millionaire, lost it, and had the earning power to get it back. That's a different starting line than a warehouse worker, a construction worker, a retail employee, or anyone in manufacturing pulling $22 an hour with 2 kids and a car payment. Step 1. Save $1,000 for a starter emergency fund. If you're making $15 to $20 an hour, that $1,000 might be your entire take-home pay on a biweekly paycheck. And you're supposed to save that while covering rent, groceries, gas, childcare. For a lot of hourly workers, that first $1,000 realistically takes an average of 12 to 18 months. And during those months, interest keeps stacking. The clock doesn't stop just because you're trying to catch up. Step 2. Pay off all your debt using the debt snowball. Line up your debts smallest to largest and attack the smallest one first, regardless of interest rate. The idea is that small wins keep you motivated. Even the critics admit that it works psychologically. One financial professional put it this way: mathematically, that's not the correct thing to do. But math didn't get you into debt, and it's unlikely to get you out. It's generic advice. Nothing revolutionary, but simple. And more often than not, simplicity is the most consistent path. Fair enough. But the alternative, the debt avalanche method, where you target the highest interest rate first, actually saves you more money over time. And when your margins are razor thin, every extra dollar you pay in interest because you ignored the high rate card is a dollar you can't afford to lose. If you're salaried at $120,000, the difference between snowball and avalanche might cost you a few $100 over time. If you're hourly at $25 to $27, That few $100 is groceries for 2 weeks. Step 4. Invest 15% of your household income into retirement. If you're making $50,000 a year, 15% is $7,500. That's $625 a month. After rent, utilities, food, gas, insurance, and childcare, a lot of hourly workers are looking at a balance closer to zero than $600. That's not because they're lazy or bad with money. The math just doesn't work. And it's worth pointing out, in cities where the living wage for a single adult is calculated at $20 to $25 an hour, 15% retirement savings on top of basic expenses isn't a discipline problem. It's a structural one. Ramsey says to expect about 12% average annual returns from the stock market. Most financial professionals say that number is too high. Actual long-term returns, adjusted for inflation, land somewhere between 7 and 10%. One critic said it plainly. If you are planning for your money to compound at 12%, you're going to be very disappointed. If you build a retirement plan around 12% and reality gives you 8%, you're going to come up short. And the person who comes up short isn't the guy with rental properties and a $650 million headquarters in Franklin, Tennessee. Ramsey says cut up every credit card. For people who genuinely can't control their spending, that might be solid advice. But for hourly workers with irregular schedules, seasonal slowdowns, or gaps between checks, a credit card isn't a luxury. When your hours get cut in February and rent is still due on the 1st, and the lion's share of your paycheck is the rent, that Visa might be the only thing keeping the lights on, gas in the car, and food on the table. Housing. Ramsey recommends your mortgage payment be no more than 25% of your take-home pay on a 15-year fixed rate with at least 10 to 20% down. A warehouse worker making $23 an hour takes home roughly $2,800 a month. 25% of that is $700. $700 a month for a mortgage. That might cover the mortgage in a rundown trailer in bumfuck Egypt, but not in your typical area. Not that there is anything wrong with living in a trailer. I grew up in one, and honestly, some of the double or triple wides they have nowadays are pretty damn nice. And if you're a renter, good luck. The average rent cost for a 2-bedroom in 2026 is between $1,300 and $1,600. That is insane. If you get paid bi-weekly and are on the higher end of warehouse pay at around $27 an hour, that is one paycheck for the month. With your second monthly check, you'll need to pay groceries, cell phone bill, car insurance, utilities, gas, and most likely a car payment. And if you have kids, you can add childcare and double your grocery bill at a minimum. It's untenable. The thing that gets under people's skin most isn't the math, it's the tone. Ramsey tells callers they have a spending problem, not an income problem. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes the problem is that the job pays $17 an hour and the cost of living doesn't care. The federal minimum wage hasn't moved in over a decade. The math on minimum wage versus basic survival expenses in most cities isn't close. In April 2024, on Fox Business, he called younger critics whiners on TikTok, then said, direct quote, "There's a segment of them that just sucks. They're just awful. Their participation trophy, they live in their mother's basement, and they can't figure out why they can't buy a house because they don't work." That's a man worth somewhere around $200 million, possibly more, talking about people who can't afford a house. People who are working, just not earning enough for the math to work the way his steps assume. Maybe he needs to remember that he too went bankrupt, making 5 times what the average blue-collar worker makes and having $4 million in assets. Humble pie might not taste great, but one bite goes a long fucking way, dude. A financial writer at Forbes pointed out that Ramsey is generous with the words stupid and wrong when talking about people's decisions, and said that people in bad financial situations should not feel unworthy or believe that they're stupid. Another critic put it more bluntly. Much like the diet industry, Ramsey has built his business around shame, shaming you for not working hard enough. and shaming you for not being where you want to be because you don't work hard enough. Nobody's saying the man hasn't helped people. He has. Millions of them. His core message that behavior matters, that focus can change your financial life, that debt is dangerous, those things are real. I'm telling you that on a YouTube channel, so I definitely believe it. The difference is I'm not going to charge you 10 grand to tell you that, and I'm not going to sell you a budgeting app like Every Dollar, and then act like a spreadsheet is all that stands between you and financial freedom. But there's a difference between a system that works when you have room to breathe and a system that assumes you already do. The baby steps were built by a guy who went broke at the top and climbed back, not by a guy who started at the bottom on $21 an hour with a bad knee and a kid in daycare. If you're an hourly worker and you've tried his plan and felt like a failure because it didn't click, that's not on you. The steps aren't broken. They're just not built for your floor plan. Finances are complicated. Following any specific system won't guarantee results. What works for one person might not work for another, and your situation has details no radio show or YouTube video can account for. If you're trying to get a handle on your money, talk to a real professional who can look at your actual numbers. Someone sitting across from you who knows what you make, what you owe, and what you're working with. Make sure that person is a real human, not some robot who has had a couple weeks of training in order to tell you to put $50 a paycheck into savings. Someone with real life situations and understanding. You deserve a plan that starts where you actually are, not where someone else thinks you should be. Life isn't simple. It's complicated. The reason I can talk about this kind of thing is because I'm the person this video was made for, so I can do more than understand it. I can feel it. I currently work in a warehouse as we speak. I make around $27 an hour. I work 40 hours a week on a slow week. The rest of the time I'm coming in early to work 4 extra hours on top of my normal 8-hour shift to get the overtime. I work every holiday I can for the double time pay. My paycheck deductions total to nearly 30% of my gross income. Sometimes my 401k returns are looking good, and other times it actually loses money. I have probably blocked 500 different numbers from debt collectors on my phone. Rent keeps increasing. The price of food, gas, fun, and basically everything else keeps going up, yet my raise is only 5%. It sucks. But after biting the bullet and saving for 6 months to talk to a financial professional, I'm learning how to be smarter with my money. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm getting closer every year, and that's what matters to me. The debt lowers every year, and I get a little more breathing room just by making some smarter decisions. I'm not a smart guy. Not at all. I consider myself a curious idiot. I just like to ask a lot of questions until I get a satisfying answer. You'd be surprised how much knowledge you can accrue that way. But anyway, what matters to you? Where do you want to be? Let me know in the comments.